inner strength and resilience are the bedrock of a woman who fights alone. It's not the absence of fear or the lack of challenges that defines her. It's how she responds when those things come her way. Her strength is born in the quiet moments when she's faced with a choice to give up or to keep going. She chooses the latter, not because it's easy, but because she knows she is capable of withstanding what comes her way. There are no external sources feeding her strength. It's not the support of others nor the applause of a crowd that fuels her. Instead, she draws from a deep well of internal resolve. She has learned over time that true power is not found in her surroundings, but in her own ability to stand firm when everything around her seems to be crumbling. It's in her ability to get up one more time, even when the weight of the world feels too heavy to carry. Her resilience isn't about pretending the fight is easy. It's about the ability to stand tall, even when it feels like she's being torn apart. She understands that resilience isn't a quality you're born with, but something you build over time. Every setback, every disappointment, every hard lesson only strengthens her resolve. She doesn't shy away from the battle. She embraces it, knowing that each struggle is shaping her into the woman she is becoming. Empowerment through struggles is the paradox that defines the journey of a woman who fights alone. On the surface, the idea of struggle might seem like a burden, an unwanted weight that drags a person down. But for her, it is the very thing that molds her into the person she is meant to become. The difficulties she faces are not obstacles to her purpose. They are stepping stones that lead her toward a deeper understanding of her strength and her calling. In the beginning, the struggle may seem overwhelming. It's easy to feel small when you're up against forces that seem bigger, more powerful, or more numerous. But a woman who fights alone understands something that many don't. The struggle is not meant to destroy her. It is meant to refine her, to build resilience in her spirit, to help her discover the depth of her capacity to endure, to grow, and to triumph. When faced with challenges, many may choose to retreat, to hide from the pain, or to avoid the uncomfortable. Not her. She stands in the face of adversity knowing that this is where her empowerment begins. Every setback, every hardship, every moment of doubt is a call for her to rise higher, to fight harder, to believe stronger. She doesn't see her struggles as signs of weakness. She sees them as opportunities to tap into a deeper well of inner strength she never knew she had. Her empowerment doesn't come from avoiding pain. It comes from walking through it. She embraces her struggles, not because she enjoys them, but because she understands that in them lies the transformation she needs. Each time she faces adversity and doesn't back down, she's one step closer to the person she is becoming. She knows that the harder the fight, the greater the reward on the other side. There's a powerful shift that happens when a woman begins to see her struggles as a source of power rather than something that takes power away from her. Instead of feeling defeated when things get tough, she becomes more determined, more focused. She understands that empowerment isn't given to her by others. It is something she earns through the trials she endures, the lessons she learns, and the battles she fights. This empowerment isn't about changing the circumstances around her. It's about changing her perception of those circumstances. It's about taking ownership of her response to the situation, choosing not to be defined by the struggle, but by how she rises above it. Her true power lies not in the absence of struggle, but in her ability to push forward through it, to keep going even when the road gets rough, and to emerge stronger on the other side. Through each trial, she learns more about her capacity for perseverance, her ability to adapt, and the depth of her courage. Her struggles shape her into someone who is not afraid to face the next challenge head on, because she knows that it is in the hardest moments that she uncovers the greatest versions of herself. Empowerment through struggles means that with every battle she fights alone, she claims more of her power, grows more into her purpose, and becomes unstoppable in the pursuit of the woman she was always meant to be. Silent battles are often the most intense and transformative, yet they go unnoticed by most. These are the struggles that happen behind closed doors, in the quiet corners of a woman's heart and mind. While the world may see only the surface, the woman who fights alone knows that the most profound battles are the ones no one can see. She doesn't seek recognition or applause for the wars she wages within herself. Her impact, however, is felt in ways that cannot be measured by external accolades or visible victories. The silent battle is the one fought against doubt, fear, and insecurity. It's the battle that takes place in the early hours of the morning, when she wakes up facing a new day filled with uncertainty, yet still decides to rise and move forward. It's the fight against the voices that tell her she's not enough, the fight against the limiting beliefs that threaten to hold her back. In these moments, she is alone, confronting the weight of her own thoughts and emotions, yet her determination is what propels her to keep moving forward. These silent battles are not fought with fists or words. They are fought with persistence, with quiet determination, and with an unwavering belief in her own ability to persevere. The woman who fights alone knows that she doesn't need to announce her struggles to the world. She doesn't need to let everyone in on the private wars she's facing. Instead, she chooses to keep going, even when no one is watching, even when the path is unclear, and even when the battle feels insurmountable. Yet the impact of these silent battles is anything but quiet. The strength she gains from facing these internal struggles manifests in her actions, in her decisions, in the way she carries herself through the world. She may not always speak of her struggles, but the courage and wisdom she has gained from them radiate in everything she does. The way she handles adversity, the grace with which she moves through challenges, the resilience she exhibits in moments of crisis. These are the loud echoes of the silent battles she has fought. Her impact is felt in the lives of others, even if they don't know the full extent of what she has endured. People see the results, the strength, the unwavering sense of purpose that guides her actions. They may not know the depth of her pain, the sacrifices she has made, or the obstacles she has overcome, but they feel the effect of her presence. Her ability to stand strong in the face of adversity becomes a beacon of hope for others. She may not say much, but her life speaks volumes. There is a power in silence. It's the power of quietly continuing when everyone else has given up. It's the strength that comes from digging deep within when all external support is gone. The woman who fights alone, even in her silence, is making an impact that is profound, lasting, and undeniable. Her battles may be fought out of sight, but the ripple effect of her courage reaches far beyond what she could ever imagine. What's louder than the noise of the world is the quiet strength of a woman who refuses to be defeated. Overcoming isolation is one of the most profound and transformative journeys a woman who fights alone can undertake. Isolation is not just a physical condition. It is an emotional and spiritual experience. It is the feeling of being disconnected, not just from others, but from one's own sense of purpose, from the world, and sometimes even from the very essence of who she is. For a woman who fights alone, isolation can often be the greatest enemy, yet it also becomes the crucible in which her strength is forged. When a woman is isolated, whether by circumstance, choice, or the harsh realities of her situation, it can feel like she is facing a battle no one else understands. The world moves on around her, people go about their lives, and she is left to face the challenges of life alone. In these moments, loneliness can be a crushing weight, and the struggle to continue moving forward can seem unbearable. There is no one to lean on, no one to help carry the load, and sometimes no one who truly understands the depth of her pain. However, within this isolation lies the potential for profound growth. The woman who fights alone learns to confront herself, her fears, her doubts, her insecurities, without the distractions of the outside world. It is in isolation that she discovers who she really is, stripped of external validation and opinions. She faces her own reflection, not to judge herself, but to understand the strength that has always been within her. In those quiet, solitary moments, she begins to realize that while others may not be present to help, she has everything she needs to keep moving forward. Overcoming isolation is not about simply being surrounded by others, but about learning to find strength within. It is in the depths of isolation that she discovers the power of self-reliance, the importance of cultivating inner peace, and the ability to trust her own instincts. She learns that her voice matters, even if it's the only one she hears. Her thoughts and emotions become her guide, teaching her lessons she could never have learned in the noise and bustle of the outside world. Yet, overcoming isolation also teaches her that even in solitude, she is never truly alone. The woman who fights alone realizes that her connection to herself is just the beginning. She understands that isolation doesn't mean abandonment. There is a higher purpose, a sense of divine connection that sustains her when everything else feels distant. It is in these moments of solitude that she is able to reconnect with her purpose, rediscover her strength, and align her heart with her true calling. She learns that being isolated from others doesn't mean being disconnected from the world around her. It means she is given the space to tap into a deeper, more enduring power. Through overcoming isolation, a woman comes to realize that she is capable of not only surviving, but thriving in her own company. She becomes her own support system, her own source of strength. She may walk alone, but she is never without guidance, never without purpose. The isolation that once seemed like a prison becomes the fertile ground in which she plants the seeds of resilience, growth, and eventual transformation. It is in this solitude that she becomes the woman capable of facing the world with a quiet confidence, knowing that she can stand firm no matter what comes her way. Courage to stand alone is one of the most powerful qualities a woman can possess. It requires an inner fortitude that not only faces external challenges, but also confronts the discomfort of solitude, rejection, and uncertainty. The woman who fights alone doesn't wait for validation or approval from others to move forward. She finds the courage to take a stand, even when the world around her may not understand or support her. Standing alone takes a level of courage that is often underestimated. In a society that prizes collective effort, approval, and conformity, it can feel like a monumental task to go against the grain. To stand alone is to challenge the expectations of those around her, to carve out a path that may seem lonely, but one that is aligned with her purpose and vision. This kind of courage doesn't arise from a desire for attention or accolades. It comes from a deep understanding of self and the unwavering belief in the direction she is headed. The courage to stand alone begins with the willingness to trust oneself, even in the face of doubt. There are moments when the path seems uncertain, and others may question her decisions. In those moments, it takes courage to push forward, to not allow the opinions or judgments of others to shake her resolve. She must hold firm to her values, her beliefs, and her purpose, even if she has to walk that path alone. This courage is rooted in an unwavering conviction that her journey is her own to define, and she will not let the fear of being misunderstood or alone stop her from moving forward. To stand alone also requires the courage to face vulnerability. In the absence of others to lean on, she must become comfortable with standing in her own truth, even when that truth feels raw or uncertain. It is the courage to say, "This is who I am, and I am enough," despite the potential for judgment or criticism. Vulnerability, though often seen as a weakness, is in fact a powerful expression of strength for the woman who chooses to stand alone. It is the willingness to be fully present in one's own life, to acknowledge the difficulties, the doubts, and the fears, without allowing them to dictate her journey. The courage to stand alone also means having the strength to face the unknown. There are no guarantees when walking an isolated path, and there are no promises that others will come alongside her or that the outcome will be what she expects. But still, she moves forward. She has learned that the true measure of her courage is not found in how many people stand with her, but in her willingness to stand on her own. She becomes her own source of strength, her own support system, and in doing so, she discovers a well of resilience that she may never have known existed within her. In standing alone, the woman also learns to become her own voice. She doesn't need to seek approval or permission from others because she understands that the only approval she truly needs is her own. Her confidence grows not from external applause, but from the quiet knowing that she is standing in her truth, walking her own path, and trusting her own journey. She becomes the example of courage for others, not by asking them to follow, but by showing them the power of standing firm, even when standing alone. Faith in the process is one of the most powerful tools a woman who fights alone can possess. It's the kind of faith that goes beyond belief in a specific outcome or a clear path. It's the trust in the journey itself, in the understanding that every step, every setback, and every triumph plays a part in a greater story. The woman who fights alone holds on to this faith, even when the road is unclear, when the struggles feel too overwhelming, and when others may doubt the path she is walking. Faith in the process is about trusting the timing of life, even when everything around her suggests she should have already arrived at her destination. It's a deep, unwavering belief that the struggles she faces are not random or meaningless, but are shaping her into the person she needs to be for what is yet to come. She understands that growth is not instantaneous. It's a slow, sometimes painful process of transformation. Just as a seed does not instantly become a tree, she knows that her journey requires patience, persistence, and above all, faith that every part of the process has purpose. One of the hardest things about the process is that it often doesn't reveal itself all at once. The woman who fights alone knows this better than anyone. There are times when she can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, when the path is shrouded in uncertainty. But it is in these moments that her faith is tested. And it is through holding on to that faith that she continues to move forward. She doesn't need all the answers right now. What matters is that she trusts that the answers will come when the time is right, and that every challenge she faces is an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. The process may feel like a series of trials, each one seemingly more difficult than the last. But for the woman who fights alone, these trials are not obstacles to her success. They are the very things that prepare her for what is ahead. She understands that without the difficulties, she would not develop the resilience, the patience, or the wisdom needed for her journey. Faith in the process requires her to let go of the need for immediate results, trusting that even the smallest steps are moving her in the right direction. Every time she faces a setback, she reminds herself that it's not a failure, but an integral part of her evolution. This kind of faith is deeply rooted in trust, not only in the process, but in herself. The woman who fights alone believes that she is capable of handling whatever comes her way, even when it feels impossible. She doesn't have to know exactly how things will unfold. She knows that she has the strength, the wisdom, and the endurance to keep going, even when the road ahead is uncertain. It's not about seeing the entire journey at once, but about taking the next step with confidence, knowing that she is being guided by a greater purpose. Faith in the process is not about passively waiting for things to happen. It is an active trust, one that requires her to keep moving forward even when it feels like nothing is changing. She understands that the journey is destination, and that each day she continues, each day she refuses to quit, is part of the bigger picture that will one day reveal itself in ways she never imagined. Through this faith, she learns that her worth is not defined by immediate results, but by her willingness to trust in the unfolding of her story. The purpose beyond the pain is a powerful and often life-changing realization that a woman who fights alone must come to understand in her journey. Pain in its many forms, emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual, can feel overwhelming, especially when faced in isolation. It's the kind of pain that often makes her question her strength, her decisions, and even her worth. But for the woman who fights alone, this pain becomes something more than just an obstacle. It becomes a teacher, a guide, and ultimately the gateway to a greater purpose. At the heart of the struggle is the belief that pain is never wasted. The woman who fights alone comes to understand that the hardest moments in her life are not pointless or random, but are deeply connected to her purpose. Each painful experience, each trial she endures is molding her into the woman she is becoming. It is through the fire of adversity that she is refined and strengthened. Pain forces her to confront her deepest fears, her vulnerabilities and her insecurities, but it also awakens her to the parts of herself that she may have never known existed. In facing the pain, she uncovers a deeper reservoir of strength, resilience, and wisdom. This purpose beyond the pain is what keeps her going, even when the road seems unbearable. She knows that the pain is not the end of her story. It is simply a chapter in the larger narrative of her life. The woman who fights alone sees her pain as an integral part of her growth, not something to be avoided or feared. She recognizes that the pain she feels is part of a larger process of transformation, and though it is difficult to endure, it is essential to the woman she is becoming. Through this lens, pain no longer holds the power to define her. It does not define her worth, her capabilities, or her future. Instead, it becomes the fertile soil in which her purpose takes root. She may not always understand why she is facing the challenges she is facing, but she knows that there is a greater purpose unfolding beyond her immediate understanding. With each trial she overcomes, she gains a clearer sense of her purpose, a deeper connection to her strength, and an unwavering belief that she is being prepared for something greater than what she can currently see. The woman who fights alone also understands that her purpose extends beyond her own life. As she moves through her pain and continues to grow, she becomes a beacon of hope and inspiration for others who are walking their own difficult paths. Her journey through pain becomes a testimony to the power of perseverance, to the truth that even in the darkest times, there is light waiting to be discovered. The pain she endures becomes the fuel for a greater calling, one that reaches beyond her own story and impacts the lives of those around her. Her purpose beyond the pain is not about avoiding suffering, but about embracing it as a vital part of her journey. The woman who fights alone knows that she is never truly defeated by her pain, because her pain is not the final word in her story. It is merely the beginning of a greater narrative, one of strength, resilience, and an unwavering belief in the power of purpose.